Anupam, the irony here really is that you think Pandora is a pretty good company. You think it's worth $1.2 billion. You think it's going to be profitable next year. What is it that the market sees that you don't see?
Well, right now, I think we're talking about an environment where there's just such strong demand for these tech IPOs. It's heavily outstripping supply right now. The IPOs that we've seen, they've been pretty thin floats right now. They're not IPOing a significant portion of the company. They've been very small. There's only been a couple of them. So maybe we'll be having this discussion 12 to 18 months from now and talking about an environment where it's more than just LinkedIn and Pandora. You'll see Groupon having gone public. You'll see Facebook having gone public. You'll see Zynga having gone public. There'll be more places where money managers can put their money.
So do you think that Pandora then is qualifying unnecessarily somehow just because there are so few choices? I mean, it's an unprofitable company.
Well, I do think, as you were saying, I do think it's a great company. I think they're going to grow revenue at a CAGR of 30% but over the next 5 years. But I do think that they're benefiting from an environment right now where demand is heavily outstripping supply right now.
I want to get back to that idea of low float because the company sold only 10% of outstanding shares. So anyone who wants to bet against Pandora will have a hard time borrowing the stock to do that. How is that going to be a challenge for Pandora and those investors who don't like it going forward?
Well, right now, you're right. I think it's going to be very difficult to short the shares for some time. And I think you saw the same thing with LinkedIn. So I think really, the best way to play this, in my opinion, is, I value the company between $7 and $8 a share. To the extent that it trades at 16 or above 16, I just recommend that investors stay on the sidelines, wait for these valuations to come back down to earth.
Anupam, on the part of investors, are we talking about irrational behavior here? We remember what happened 12 years ago. People wanted to get into these stocks. I mean, here's the question. Rational as long-term investors or irrational as long-term investors? Because if you're just in it for the short term, maybe you can flip this stock in a few weeks.
Absolutely. So I think we are seeing, a certain amount of irrational activity right now, bidding these things up. If you look at what happened with the IPO range, it was $7 to $9, which I felt was pretty reasonable. I look at just under $8 for valuation. It moved up to $10 to $12. They didn't release any new information in terms of the company. There was no new revenue numbers. And then, of course, it priced at 16. So there's not a lot of new information coming to market. It's just a lot of dollars chasing very little supply right now.
So speaking of the revenue numbers, I mean, when can Pandora be profitable? Scarlet talked about this part, sort of the two legs there. They have to pay a music label almost 50% sometimes for usage. And then on the flip side, their ad outlook is not that stable.
Right. So I do think they'll be profitable this year. Over the last year they weren't profitable, but they did have a positive $16 million swing in terms of, moving closer toward profitability. I think they'll grow revenue at a 30% CAGR over the next 5 years. I think they'll grow margin on the EBITDA side from less than 1% last year to 15% over the next 5 years. So I do like this company quite a bit, but the big question marks for me are, first of all, can they improve the audience targeting capabilities because they don't know a lot about their users compared to, the Amazons and Googles and Apples of the world. And secondly, can they properly translate the desktop experience to the mobile experience? Because some of the larger display ads don't work as well on a smaller screen.
Do you think they're going to suffer from the emergence of the iCloud?
I think that, the environment is going to get incrementally heavier. So, when we're talking about, more and more competition coming to market, absolutely. You've got Google, you've got Amazon, you've got the iCloud coming, and, these companies have a lot of storage capabilities. So when you think about taking enormous music libraries and being able to store them in the cloud, that's very serious competition.
Anupam, thanks. We have to leave it there.